Hey there, happy day 1046 of What You Up To Now. Sharon Hornells from here, documenting the journey as I transition from the brick and mortar corporate world of business to the online world of business. I like to call it the real world of business, which annoys my online friends to no end because, of course, people that have only done online business or are really invested in online business think that that's the only thing that matters, the only type of business there is. There's a huge, and one of the biggest things that I've learned about the online world versus the offline world is there's a huge emphasis on marketing and sales in the online world, bigger, more so than the offline world. Now, in the offline world, people believe that sales and marketing, when they're in those fields, is in those functions for the business, they are the most important part of the business. And the internet world just totally reinforces that. But guess what? There's a whole lot of other things that have to happen to make your business thrive and survive and be successful than just marketing and sales. Yep, you can market and you can sell, but if you can't deliver, you're in big trouble. If you can market and sell and convince people to buy your stuff, that's great. But if you don't have a product and service and a delivery systems in place to deliver and meet the promises that you've made to people, you're not going to be in business very long. You can short term, it's like you can fib and lie to people on the short term, but in the long term, you're always going to be found out. We're seeing that in our country right now, that over a period of time, you can lie and cheat and steal, but at some point, you're going to get caught and you're going to have to pay the piper. Hopefully, that's what will happen. If any one of us were to do even 1/100th of the stuff that different people in power and politics are getting away with, we'd all be in prison for the rest of our lives. And it's that double standard that's not acceptable in America. So what are we talking about today? In the Get Up and Go Challenge, we talked about yesterday, what is your automatic reaction to change and to challenges? And today we said, all right, we're going to change your reaction. So how do we change your reaction? We have our reaction. How do we change that? Well, there's a lot of ways, but one of the fastest, easiest ways I've discovered and found and used now in my own life is a tool called flip switching, where you have something and you really don't want to experience that. You want to experience the opposite of it. How do you do that? It's as simple as flipping a light switch on and off. You flip to the opposite of what it is. So if you hate someone or something, you find things in it that you can love about it. There's always something in everything that we can love about a situation or a person or a place or a thing. There's always something. It might not be huge, but that's how we get along with other people and we survive our lives, is focusing on the things that we like about them, not on the things that we don't like. That is an example of flip switching. So that was the topic of our 12-minute and 24-second Get Up and Go Challenge. I was trying to keep them under 10 minutes. I think that's the fourth one out of 10 that has been, well, the other three were just slightly over 10 minutes. This one was 12:24. And probably because it's a big, important subject, right? We have to understand that we have the ultimate control and power over how we respond to everything and anything, right? We can blame other people. We can blame other things. We can blame circumstances. We can act like a victim. But the truth is, it's always our choice. It's always our responsibility, whether we claim it or not, to determine and be responsible for our reaction to everything. Do we always react the right way or the way we want to? Heck no. My kids were giving me feedback yesterday about how I negate their feelings and I don't listen to them when they feel bad. Well, it's the mom in me, and that's my excuse, is it's the mom in me. I never want my kids to feel bad about anything. And sometimes they feel, and I didn't really know this, that I'm not listening to them and I don't consider their feelings, and that when I try to make them feel better before they've fully expressed how they really feel about a situation, I'm not allowing them to feel their feelings all the way. Probably because I do that to myself, but I don't want to do it to my kids and to other people. So we're always learning, right? We're always learning and growing and understanding not only how we react and respond to things, but how our reactions and our responses affect and impact other people. So often we just react and we forget that there's always ripple effects and secondary results as a consequence of our reactions. Whether they're good or bad, there's always a consequence and an overflow of how we respond and how we react to everything. So we want to be cognizant of that, and we want to be responsible for it, so that, and understand that we are, and we do have the power to change that. No one else has the power to change that but us. So we want to make sure that we're remembering that every once in a while, and we all need to be reminded of it every once in a while. Of course we do. So change your reaction and flip switching is what we talked about today, which I guess it's now one of my favorite topics. I didn't realize, but it is one of my favorite topics. I was frustrated that it went over, but that's, I need a timer. I've known that I need a 10-minute timer, that great big one that I could actually see behind my phone so that I don't go over if it's that important to me. So obviously it's more important to get the information out than it is for me to stick with 10 minutes. So that's Get Up and Go Challenge. Tomorrow, we are going to hop right into the SOAP framework. The SOAP framework is the framework that I've used through 2020. I've used it before then, but I never had a name for it. But it's the one that I've used for all the Get Up and Go challenges this year. This is our 5th Get Up and Go challenge. And the SOAP framework is the foundation of that. It's the process that guarantees we get better results after any change or challenge that we face than before we entered that change or challenge. And the cool thing about a framework is it's 100% customizable to the person that's using it. The person that uses it makes it their own, and it becomes their own unique customized process for handling changes and handling challenges. It's not my framework. It becomes their process and way of dealing with anything that comes their way. That's what's powerful about frameworks and what I love about them. There's so many frameworks that we use in our everyday life, and I think we forget about them, but they're always running at a subconscious level in us. And each of us have different frameworks that we adopt and we use that help direct our lives. There's the topic, the primary question. All of us, believe it or not, we think and evaluate everything in the form of questions. I know we don't consciously be aware that we're always asking questions, but we always are. Everything we see, everything we observe is run through a filter. And remember, we think in pictures, not in words. So everything we see, all the pictures, everything we see and hear and observe and listen to and feel and touch and are exposed to, all of that is filtered through questions. So we have the primary question. Our primary question is a framework that we filter everything through, whether we need to pay attention to it or not, whether it's presenting a danger to us or not, whether it's important or we can just totally ignore it. We actually filter out a whole lot more than we ever let into our consciousness. We have to. We only have a certain amount of capacity to hold all of the information that's out there in the world nowadays. Have you ever looked online and researched any topic, almost any topic, any word that you put into a search engine, whether you use Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever the search engines are nowadays? Whatever you put in, you will get back in seconds or milliseconds millions of results. Well, nobody can look through millions of results on one single search. So it just goes to show us that information has been growing a lot longer than our capacity to pay attention to it. And that's okay. We get to search and filter out and just look for the things that are relevant to us, which is as it should be. But we need to do that. So Get Up and Go challenge. Fun challenge today was all about your favorite way to travel, your favorite mode of transportation. And mine is actually walking, but that's out of necessity more than actually out of desire. But it was about riding in balloons. And I've actually had the pleasure of riding in hot air balloons, and I find it an incredibly relaxing way to travel. I've never traveled in a balloon. I've gone for balloon rides, but can't imagine having to travel in a balloon. I'm not sure where you'd end up if that's how you were going on a trip, like around the world in 80 days is fascinating, because that would be back in the day, there weren't very many ways to travel. So what's your favorite way to travel? That was our fun challenge today. The fun challenge will probably go about 8 days over into 2021. I just counted it up today because I didn't start until January 8th. I don't know. I know why, because I ran over on last year's 365-day challenge, and that one I did start at the beginning of the year. But there were more items in the book that I was sharing about. What was last year? Oh, happiness, how to be happier in your life last year. So I ran over, and then I didn't start this year's, which is fun, which was, oh my God, what a perfect thing to choose for 2020, is to look for something fun in every day. And last year was look for something that makes you happy. Before that, it was do one thing every day that scares you and stretches your comfort zone. And next year, I'm not saying what it is, but I've already got next year's planned out, because like to do it every day. It wakes my voice up, it gets me going, it keeps me moving forward in a very lighthearted, positive way. So some people have a word of the year. I guess it's like having a word of the year, but I do a challenge every day for a year. And I originally started it because I needed to stretch my comfort zone. I needed to make myself do video, and that's where it came from, is I need to find a way to wake up every day and do a video, because I'm scared to death to do videos. So how do we overcome our fear? By taking action toward and a step toward the thing that we're afraid of. I think I've done that in a pretty big way. Do a lot of videos. So fun challenge. Next year's not going to tell you yet, but already got that ready. I've actually got 2 possibilities, but I think I'm leaning toward one more than the other. Because one doesn't translate to the internet particularly well, or I haven't creatively found a way to translate it to a daily video as well yet, but I'm sure there's a way. If I can do an idiom a day, which our idiom today was, any friend of yours is a friend of mine. Do you think that's true or not? And I say 90% of the time it's true. The other 10%, just like everything else, you got to watch out, right? It's like anything else. 90% of people on the planet are awesome, amazing human beings. 10%, not so much, right? So we don't have to worry about the 90%. We only have to make sure that we insulate ourselves from the 10% of evil that we do not want to interact with or be a part of. And we don't need to, I guess that comes from making the rules. Our city council was meeting, I believe yesterday, to decide if we're going to have a curfew or not in my small town, because the state next to us has closed everything down, and that means, being a border town, all of the people that want to stay up late, go to the parties, go to restaurants, go to bars, are coming to my little town. And we had a stabbing Sunday where 1 person died and 3 people were stabbed. And so that, of course, in a small town, has us all in an uproar. My sister had a good idea. She said, just call in the National Guard, problem solved. Businesses can stay open, people can come, but they're not going to cause any trouble, because there'll be a presence that says, hey, come and have fun, but we're not going to take any from anybody. And I thought that was a really good idea. I wish she would have gone to the meeting, which I doubt. But we actually had to call the National Guard. Our mayor had to call the National Guard in this summer with the George Floyd riots and things in Minneapolis. We're in such close proximity that there were a lot of people coming and going through our town and in our town that were part of those riots. And they called the National Guard in, which I think was great, because they were parked at the park by my house, and it made me feel a lot safer and more secure. And people can say, well, you shouldn't be concerned about the riots, but when 1,000 businesses in a town that you've grown up in close proximity to are burned and destroyed by rioting, not by peaceful protests. I love how the news sugarcoats and lies about everything and says, oh, they were just peaceful protests. Well, if you've driven through there, if you live by there, if you've been there and seen and witnessed it firsthand, yeah, most of the protests were peaceful, but there was a whole sect of people that were brought in, bought and paid for, to cause trouble, cause riots, cause damage, destroy our country, destroy our cities. And it's pathetic. It's beyond pathetic. It's not only criminal, but it's criminal and pathetic that anybody thinks that it's okay to do evil. It's not okay. It's just not okay. So fun challenge. Any friend of yours is a friend of mine, which is any friend of yours is a friend of mine most of the time. I personally learned that any friend of yours isn't necessarily a friend of mine. I guess they are until they aren't, right? I trust people until they give me a reason not to trust them. I automatically trust people until they hurt me. Then I don't trust them anymore. And I will probably never trust them again. Because I've had some experiences where I trusted someone's friends and I trusted people, and people deceive us, people disappoint us, people do things that don't match our core values. And then we learn from those experiences that maybe any friend of yours isn't a friend of mine. Happened in business, happened in my personal life, happened, it just happens. And that's a lesson that I needed to learn. It was an experience I needed to have, although it was pretty painful, but I needed to have that experience so that I would learn and grow and realize that I was super naive and I trusted everybody, and 90% of the time that works out, but 10% of the time you might get burned. And it's in the getting burned that we learn to put our filters on in terms of who and what we trust and what we do and what we'll do for investigating on our own, thinking for ourselves, researching, listening to our intuition. We have to listen to our heart, our head, and our gut whenever we're making or choosing or doing anything. We just need to. And I've learned over the decades, and it's taken me decades to come to the realization that if one of those 3 areas says, or even has an inkling of a no, then the thing that I'm considering is not right for me at this time. Doesn't mean it won't be right in a week or a year or a month or 10 years, but right this instant, the moment of now, which is the only time we can act, it's not right for me. And so I've learned to value and listen to that guidance and intuition. And intuition, my heart and my head. If they're not all three in alignment, the answer's going to be no. So somebody might come to me with an opportunity and say, hey, this is the best opportunity in the whole wide world. And if any one of those three upon my investigation says, nope, not right now, not for me, it doesn't mean I won't do something with them later on. It just means right now is not the right time for me to be involved in that particular thing. That's how I filter opportunities these days as well. What else is going on? Working on the Challenge Summit. And for some reason, I'm getting some resistance in my own personal being that, and I'm convincing myself, yes, this is the next step, the next thing, the next opportunity, the next thing I want to do in 2021. And, I like the challenge format where it's just a lesson, an action item, and something that we can personally control and do more than, and maybe that's my own personal barrier or my personal challenges to get over bringing a lot of other people and their expertise in. Why would I not want to do that? I want to expose the people I care about to as many resources as I possibly can. So I don't know what my resistance has been to that this week. Just a little, not a lot, just a little bit of resistance. And maybe it's, I just want to do it differently than I did my last one. My last one was great, but I want to make sure that this one's better because I think it has the ability to actually serve more people in a bigger way and in more areas and aspects of their life than just business. My last one was a businesswoman focused challenge about customers. And that's really specific. Or my last summit was about that. And so I want to make sure that this summit is even more powerful than that one was. I learned a ton during that last summit. It was so fun, and it was fun and educational. And so I'm excited to do this one. I just want to make sure that the intent and purpose of it is, 100% fulfilled. That's it. That's all I've got today. I've got my granddaughter today, so I'm super excited about that. Got to see through technology on Sunday my granddaughter who will be born in February. Super excited about that. She's so cute. She's so cute. They do 3D ultrasounds now, which, they didn't have those when I had babies. They just had the little black and white 2D ones, but now they do 3-dimensional ones, which are really fascinating. A little creepy, not gonna lie, but very fascinating and very fun. And you can kind of see, you could see her smiling and swallowing and breathing. She doesn't really breathe in the womb, but they practice breathing until they're born, at least according to the person that did our ultrasound. So very cool, very niche industry. And I think this year more than ever, it's even more popular given that there's so many restrictions to spouses and things attending ultrasounds and going to doctor appointments and things. Whereas when I was pregnant, you could bring your spouse all the time because there weren't any of the health restrictions that we're seeing with COVID. All right, have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, ask in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow. I'm sure I'll have a topic, but I'll also just be filling you in on what I'm doing as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world. If you have questions about that, ask me in the comments below. If you're thinking about adding an online component and you haven't done it yet, if you are and you're doing some things online but you're struggling in any area, ask about that because I'm sure I've probably tried it. All right, have a great day. Catch you tomorrow.